Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. In Kumasi, we're live on Love 99.5 FM and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Volta Premier in Ho, Bishara Radio in Tamale, Radio Freed in Nandom, Dreams FM in Bogatanga, and Radio Wa in Wa. You can go digital on Spotify, Facebook, and myjoyonline.com app. In this edition, 4 days into the implementation of the electronic transaction levy, the NDC is not backing down on its stance to get the transaction stopped. We'll be live in court where the party is arguing its case. And if you've noticed any irregularities in your transactions since the e-levy kicked in, the telcos are assuring you these concerns will be addressed. We'll hear from the biggest operator, MTN.
And so with that realization, we would not be able to achieve that now. Is then the opportunity for those who may have been wrongly taxed to complain and get the refund.
Also coming up this afternoon.
Of Ghana's latest ranking in the World Press Freedom Index, which is depressing enough to effect dramatic mood swings.
Ghana Journalists Association worried about Ghana's low ranking on the Press Freedom Index after the country dropped 30 places, the lowest in 17 years. We'll hear from the National Media Commission, which is condemning attacks on journalists.
Whose reckless speech leads into mischief must be made to pay for that mischief, but not through the use of physical force, but through the use of the rule of law.
That's coming up as we celebrate World Press Freedom Day. And how is government keeping its promises to you? Find out in a series of reports dubbed Joy News Tracker, starting today from the Odododio constituency of the Greater Accra region.
If you put together the proportion or the numbers for that matter that close down temporarily and those that close down permanently, we are talking about 85,000 businesses that are still closed down as we speak.
We have sports.
Ghanaian sporting legends deserved monuments for their contribution to sport in the country. Tony Barnafo tells government. We have details in 20 minutes.
Well, and later... University Praxis Senior High School qualifies for the National Science and Maths Quiz competition in style as they beat the opponents with a 42 points gap.
Yes, this time we are fully prepared. Yes, great. Even if they are doing it in Tamale, we will come to Tamale. If they do it in Tonga, we will come there.
And in the Upper West region, St. Francis Xavier Seminary is heading for the national championship after qualifying together with Nandom, Laura and Queen of Peace schools. That and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. Many thanks for choosing us. We are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Please stay for details. We settle for details now. We start off from the implementation of the electronic transaction levy, and the National Democratic Congress continues to advance its case to get the e-levy scrapped despite its commencement 4 days ago. Since its introduction, the NDC has made it clear it is opposed to the levy and has challenged the legality of the law which imposes charges on our electronic transfers. Its 2020 presidential candidate John Mahama, during a presentation on the economy on Monday, promised to scrap it if the NDC wins power in 2024. But the NDC minority is also making an attempt to stop it at the Supreme Court. I'll take you live there now where my colleague Samuel Imbura has been monitoring proceedings there for us. Samuel, bring us up to speed on what we are missing.
Remember, on the March 30, 2022, 3 members of the minority from the National Democratic Congress, namely the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, Boku Central MP, Mahama Yarka, and North Song MP, Samuel Okudjota Ablakwa, filed a writ at the Supreme Court seeking to declare the passage of the E-Levy Act 2022 Act 1075 as unconstitutional and should be set aside. On April 19, 2022, the 3 applicants followed up with an application for an order of interlocutory injunction to restrain the enforcement of the Act pending the determination of the suit. They were invoking the original jurisdiction of the Court pursuant to Article 2.1 and 1301 of the Constitution and Rule 45, Clause 1 and 2 of the Supreme Court Rules 1996, TI 16. So they are, among other reliefs, seeking the declaration that the purported vote by the 136 members of Parliament of each clause on each clause of the Electronic Transfer Bill 2021 is in contravention of Article 104 Clause 1 and therefore null and void and of no effect whatsoever. So the case are in two folds. One, they are seeking the injunction on the implementation of the e-levy. Two, they are talking about the substantive matter that has to do whether the passage of the e-levy was constitutional or not. So as of now, the court is dealing with the merits or the substantive case having to do with the passage of the e-levy. Counsel for the applicants, lawyer Edgy Tamaklo, on his feet made the point that at the time that the e-levy was passed, the minority members moved out of or walked out of Parliament, and in his reference, he couldn't tell. The court wanted to find out from him how many people from the minority side went out of or walked out of Parliament, and they were expecting that he should have been able to provide or prove that all the people who walked out from Parliament were actually from the minority side. Mr. Tamaklo could not present to them or break down for the bench as to whether all those who went out were from the minority side.
Okay.
So he is making the argument that at the time that it was the e-levy was passed on the 29th of March, the members present in Parliament were 136. However, the amendment or the correction that was made on the 31st of March captured 167 in the vote of proceedings of Parliament. So the bench wants to find out from him again as to whether the number of people that were present, the number of people that were not in Parliament out of leave, and then the breakdown as to the number of minority people that worked, minority MPs that worked out, and the number of majority that were in the chamber.
Okay,
so
Samuel, let me come in briefly, Samuel. So then you're telling us that the court is now hearing the substantive case. We know about two separate cases. How about the injunction case itself? Because most of us were expecting whether the court would stop the GRA from implementing or otherwise. What has become of that leg of the case?
So the court is currently looking into the substantive case. Afterwards, they will now hear the injunction case filed before the court.
And what has been the argument of government or the Attorney General's Department, for that matter, on this particular case? We've been hearing from the minority side. What exactly has the Attorney General and the representatives been saying?
All right, the Attorney General, Godfrey Dame, is in court with his other deputies. He's yet to be called on his feet to advance his arguments on it. But in an earlier affidavit that he filed before the court, he said that the writ as filed by the minority is full of uncertainty.
It's my colleague Samuel Imbura there reporting from the Supreme Court, giving us updates on what's currently happening there when it comes to the hearing on this particular injunction case and the substantive case that has been brought before the Supreme Court to throw out the passage of the e-levy. And he's been bringing us updates on it as we speak. The Supreme Court is currently hearing that case. Meanwhile, the biggest telecommunications operator in Ghana, MTN, has assured refunds will be made to customers who have been charged e-levy for transactions 10 cedis and below, or 100 cedis and below. The company has also assured transfers from same person to his or her other network wallet does not attract charges. These are some of the concerns which have come up. CEO of Mobile Money at MTN, Eli Hene, explains there's a system to ensure timely refunds for those wrongly charged, challenging the legality of the law which imposes charges on our electronic transactions.
SIM registration deadline was end of March. That has been moved forward. Yeah. Now, in the implementation, that will now derive the use of the SIM registration using the GRA's common platform is now the July 1. So, essentially, that is when we get the full scope, and then we are able to complete the identification on either party. Right. And so with that realization and realizing we would not be able to achieve that now, is then the opportunity for those who may have been wrongly taxed to complain and get the refund. The focus now is how do we give the customers the best experience in the implementation, because we do not want that to become the reason why they are not using their Momo wallets. We want to encourage customers to continue to, because there are still a number of transactions which you would execute today which does not attract e-levy for very good reasons, and we want customers to begin to see those positive sides, blend it, and have a blended experience of using their mobile money wallets.
That's CEO of Mobile Money at MTN, Eli Hine, there speaking on the Super Morning Show. Let's turn our attention to Press Freedom Matters now.
Of Ghana's latest ranking in the World Press Freedom Index, which is depressing enough to effect dramatic mood swings.
That's the mood of Ghanaian journalists after the country was ranked 60th in the latest Press Freedom Index. The report issued by Journalists Without Borders places Ghana on the 60th position out of 180 countries and 10th in Africa for this year, a 100% drop from last year when Ghana placed 30th in the world and 3rd in Africa. But speaking at a news conference to commemorate the International Press Freedom Day in Accra, Afilmoni GJA president says the results was depressing but does not spell doom for Ghana. We'll hear from him soon, but first my colleague Kwekwa Sante filed a report detailing the findings of the Press Freedom Index from the Journalists Without Borders group.
It's been nearly 2 decades since Ghana scored this terribly on the World Press Freedom Rankings. The last time we were this bad, we ranked 66 in the world in 2005. Since then, we have seen gradual improvement. Our finest moment came in 2018 under President Akufo-Addo when Ghana was ranked first on the African continent. 4 years on, under the same president, the story is much worse, with all the gains eroded. In the 2022 Press Freedom Index by Reporters Without Borders, Ghana fell from its 30th position in the global ranking to 60th in 2021, a 100% drop. In Africa, the country fell sharply from 3rd to 10th, marking Ghana's worst performance in 17 years. The report says, quote, "To protect their jobs and their security, journalists increasingly resort to self-censorship as the government shows itself intolerant of criticism." Unquote. The Reporters Without Borders World Press Freedom Index measures pluralism, media independence, the robustness of legislative frameworks, and the safety of journalists in 180 countries and 5 regions. The report put West African neighbor Burkina Faso, a country governed by a military regime, ahead of Ghana in terms of press freedom. This year's report comes amid growing concerns about attacks against media freedom and the criminal prosecution of journalists using the law on the publication of false news. The report continues, quote, "Although the country is considered a regional leader in democratic stability, journalists have experienced growing pressures in recent years." It says journalists' safety has deteriorated sharply in recent years, and political leaders are making death threats against investigative journalists. Nearly all cases of law enforcement officers attacking journalists are not pursued, unquote. For Joy News, I am Kweku Asante.
We can now hear from the GJA president, Roland Afilmoni.
It is with a heavy heart that I welcome you all to the 2022 World Press Freedom Day. Heavy hearts because of Ghana's latest ranking in the World Press Freedom Index, which is depressing enough to effect dramatic mood swings from one of celebration to that of lamentation. Indeed, a drop in ranking had been anticipated due to a confluence of anti-media factors, but never did we expect the drop to be so precipitous, 3rd in Africa and 10th in the world. The deterministic outcome has been a sharp deterioration of the safety of journalists. That threat reigned on investigative journalists also went uninvestigated, let alone punished, while law enforcement officers who were supposed to protect journalists rather brutalize them. 3 years on the spin, the assassination of Ahmed Swale of Tiger Eye fame, in the most heinous of circumstances, has been a stain on Ghana's reputation as a land of freedom and justice, a citadel of media freedom, and a beacon of democratic accomplishments in Africa. Assurance upon assurance of arresting the perpetrators have remained a hollow rhetoric. The Global Press Freedom Report does not spell perpetual doom and gloom, neither does it sentence Ghana to an irreversible situation. It still recognizes Ghana as a regional pillar of democratic stability.
Meanwhile, Executive Chairman of the National Media Commission, NMC, Barnafo, says although journalists may err in their reportage, offenders should resort to the court and not through physical force.
Any one of us can say whatever that we want to say, and nobody should prevent us from doing that. But after we have said what we want to say, if it offends the sensitivities and sensibilities of other people, we must pay compensation. Because our rights is no more important than the right of anybody. Whose reckless speech leads into mischief must be made to pay for that mischief, but not through the use of physical force, but through the use of the rule of law.
That's the Executive Chairman of the National Media Commission, Yalbuedu Ayeboafo. Meanwhile, Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Abrahima, says more action is needed to protect the freedom of the press.
In a recent BBC interview, I did indicate that the way things are going, our ranking was going to get worse. I didn't foresee that the drop will be that significant. But as you see from the report, it's not just a single country that is being ranked. So as you are dropping, others are rising. And what that means is that other countries can overtake you, as we have seen. The signs are clear on the wall.
Well, some Ghanaians have been reacting to the latest press freedom ranking as well.
So for me, I think that the government should look at itself again, some of the issues that they raise, abuse of journalists, threatening of journalists and all that, but our own Erasmus Society don't have been part of it. I think it's worrying, and the government should look at some of these reports.
First, now say media no independent body, but then say politicians no be.
Previously, the media was independent. Now, the media houses are owned by politicians, and they set agenda for them.
What I say, omuna sisi anomu ye yenkofo a omuni timi hu ade na ometimaka.
The media is critical in governance. They inform the public. If they are being arrested for informing us, how do they do their job? The president himself fought for free speech. Why is this happening under him?
I would do comprehend one which that's all on a person. We be Casani Bechina. Yamina and really.
Well, some of your views there. Let me bring in former GJ Journalist of the Year and also a media campaigner when it comes to press freedom, Manasseh Azuria winning. We're grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So looking at the significant drop in our press freedom ranking, what for you can be done to turn around this fortune?
I think the president needs to sit up and speak up, because when Ahmed Swale was killed, he made a statement to the effect that it shouldn't be taken to mean an attack on media freedom. Such a posture does not send any warning to people who perpetrate against journalists. When the modern Ghana journalists were arrested, detained, allegedly tortured, nothing happened to anybody at national security, and it happened again to Caleb Kuda, and nobody suffered for it. So if you have a president whose body language does not show that he's against these violations, this is what is going to happen. And I think we should blame President Akufo-Addo for what is happening under his watch.
But looking at the posturing also of those who are supposed to be championing press freedom in the country, you've been citing the president, for instance. Looking at the posturing, does it look like there is hope when it comes to turning around this significant drop in our press freedom ranking?
There should be hope if he wants that to happen, and he must want it to happen. He, in 2011, spoke against the use of the publication of false news as a conduit to bring back the criminal libel law. In recent times, somebody was arrested and detained for alleging that the president's family traveled to shop with the presidential jet. Another journalist was arrested and detained and charged for
saying certain things against the president's wife. So if he knows that this law is wrong, it shouldn't be used, and it is now being used under him, he should just call those under him, those he has appointed, those who use this law, he should call them to order. And I think something can be done about it.
That's a former journalist of the year, Manasseh Azuri Awuni there. He's also a press freedom champion there. We've been talking about the dip, the significant drop in Ghana's press freedom ranking put together by the Journalists Without Borders and the concerns and reactions that have been coming in. My colleague Irasa Sasaridonko has also been gauging the mood of some persons in Kumasi. Of course, he's been cited in various reports following that threat on his life by an MP, which has nothing really has been done about it. But whilst we get to that, we'll take a quick break here on the midday news, and we've been taking you to the court where 4 days into the implementation of the electronic transaction levy, the NDC is not backing down on its stance to get the transaction stopped. The case is currently being heard at the Supreme Court. When we return, we have sport and then also how government is keeping to its promise. We find out in the series of reports dubbed Joy News Tracker starting today from the Odudududu constituency of the Greater Accra region.
If you put together the proportion or the numbers for that matter that closed down temporarily and those that closed down permanently, we are talking about 85,000 businesses that are still closed down as we speak.
Many thanks for staying with us here on the midday news, and we'll do sports now. And Muftau joins me in studio with the very latest as we prepare for the Champions League game later in the day as well. But before then, what do we have?
You know what? Just before I tell you that Champions League game that will be happening tonight, Otoado will lead the Black Stars to the FIFA World Cup. Yes,
it's official.
The FA is here to announce, but. That's what we know.
But coming from you, I know it's true.
and Tony Bafo, he's also been speaking about how legends in the country should be honored with monuments. And he cited several examples. He said that the players who have won the African Cup of Nations 4 times, most Ghanaians do not even know them. So if you are able to have monuments in representing them, it will clearly tell everyone that this was their contribution to the sport in the country.
It's important to honor our legends with certain facilities to be named after them. Those who have won the African Cup for us 4 times, players need to be remembered. When you go to Ajax Amsterdam and you want to use, the WC, you see the name of Johan Cruyff. So every generation who comes will know who Johan Cruyff has been. So I believe it's also important to honor our legends whilst they are alive and kicking.
And there's UEFA Champions League tonight. Big game, Real Madrid versus Manchester City. Which team are you rooting for?
Manchester City.
Okay.
It's close to
they are seeking to make the finals for the second time in their history. Let's see what happens tonight.
Thank you very much, Muftau. Let's do Joy News Tracker, starting from the Odudududu constituency here in the Greater Accra region. And they are yearning for infrastructure that will speed up socio-economic development. Residents say they feel left out. The constituency has many terrible public schools that need urgent attention. For example, the Ayalolo cluster of schools is in a terrible shape. That's coming up in our Joy News Tracker.
I got myself to blame.
The windows are broken. We don't have good desks. We don't have textbooks and many other things.
Richmond Nyako is 12 years. Lately, his interest in attending school is waning because of the poor state of his school. Richmond School Central Mosque is located in one of the clusters of schools in Ayalolo. The schools here have not seen any renovation for many years.
I don't like the desks, the roofing and the windows because it is not good. It can hurt someone. We don't have textbooks and many other things. It is only ourselves who have some.
There are more than 1,000 students in this cluster of schools, but the children have access to a 10-seater toilet facility. The Coastal Development Authority found it prudent to build another toilet facility for the students. This project was funded under the One Constituency $1 million program. Although the toilet facility has not been completed, they have started using it already, so the children defecate on the concrete floors. They are pleading with government to do something quickly. I plead with government to complete the toilet facility. The people of Ododo yearn for government to fulfill promises made to them.
Ladies, wake up and do it, brother.
That's our Joy News tracker starting today. Now it's time for fact checking, and today we put the spotlight on claims made by former President John Mahama on the economy at the recent event in Accra dubbed Ghana at the Crossroads. Head of our research desk, Raymond Akwa, joins me in studio with more on the claims and the verdicts. Raymond, let's start with former president's claim on unemployment.
Data from the Ghana Statistical Service indicates that our nation is not only experiencing a rise in inflation, but also an all-time high unemployment rate of 13.4%.
And what's the verdict on that?
Now, this is true. I mean, indeed, Volume 3E of the Statistical Services report on the 2021 census affirmed the unemployment rate in Ghana among the population 15 and older is 13.4. It was 2.8% in 1984. In fact, it was 10.4% in the year 2000 and 5.3% in the 2010 census report.
Okay.
So that's what it is.
We can now focus on his claim on inflation.
Inflation has risen from 8% in March 2021 to 15.7% in February 2022 and currently to 19.4% in March 2022.
What's the verdict?
So the former president's claim on inflation for February 2022 and March 2022 are both correct. But his claim that inflation for March 2021 is 8% is false.
Okay.
Indeed, both the April 2022 released report from the Statistical Service on CPI and the March 2021 bulletin put Ghana's year-on-year inflation rate on March 2021 at 10.3 and not 8%.
That's fact checking. Raymond Akwa is head of our research desk. Let's head on to the National Science and Maths quiz. And let's start from the Central Region, where University Practice Senior High School qualified for the National Science and Maths quiz competition in style as they beat their opponents with a 42-point gap. At the end of the contest, it was University Practice SHS 63 points, Insaba Presby SHS 21 points, Methodist High School 19 points, West Redrow School of Business 17 points, Ewutu Bodrasi Community SHS with 10 points. Well, they have a warning for the so-called big names of the NSMQ as they vow to do all within their power to win this year's trophy.
University Practice Senior High School has qualified for the National Science and Maths quiz competition later this year. They qualified in grand style with 63 points, the highest points that we've seen so far in the Central Region. Now in the 2021
this contest, when we are coming, we prepared very well with our teacher, Mr. Bruno. Yeah, so this contest is star one. Yeah, we took it to be star one. Yeah, it's star one. Nah, it's star one. So
watch out! Watch out! Wrestling girls, watch out!
Tell them we are coming.
Watch out! We are coming.
Assistant. They are boasting. No, they are boasting. Okay, we are coming. We are coming. As for them, we will use star 1.5.
Let's speak to an old student. What's your name? Which year did you complete?
I completed 2016. Oh, UPSS, our performance on National Science and Maths quiz has always been unprecedented. Just that of late, things are not really going on.
Well, in the Upper West Region, St. Francis Xavier Seminary is heading for the national championship after qualifying together with Nandom SHS and Laura SHS and Queen of Peace SHS. Manuel Cranting reports from WA.
Cause of us comes to defend the cause of justice and spirituality, to defend the goals and objectives of others.
Sounds of elated supporters of St. Francis Xavier Seminary
after they successfully booked a spot at the National Championship of the National Science and Maths Quiz. If their school was an Islamic school, unlike the Catholic school it is, this victory on Eid Day would have been the best gift for them, having fasted through the month of Ramadan.
Xavier's here. This is what we do, and this is what we like doing. Basically, they can say the mouth can talk, but when the head is cut off, it goes down with it. We are here to prove to them that we are coming to do a lot. They say the cooking pot for the lizard is the cooking pot for the what? The chameleon. But we are telling them that the cooking pot you are bringing here, not all of them can enter there.
The excitement in the Xavier camp is being felt by the three other schools, Nandom SHS, Queen of Peace SHS and Laura SHS, which will be joining the seeded Canton SHS to represent the Upper West region in the quiz.
That's my colleague Manuel Cranting reporting from WA. Updates on the National Science and Maths Quiz. And that's how we end today's edition of the Midday News. We are live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra. In Kumasi, it's on Love 99.5 FM and affiliates across the country. Volta Premium, Bishara Radio, Radio Free in Nandom, Dreams FM in Boga Tanga. We're also live on myjoyonline.com as well as on Facebook. Stories making the headlines on My Joy Online. You won't lose anything if you remove taxes on petroleum products. CUC to Akufo-Addo. Use your brains. John Kuma clashes with Sam George over tithe as e-levy is implemented. That and more on myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apau. Many thanks for your company. We have Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil. Please stay for it.
Hello, please, am I speaking to Miss Joanna Kuma?
Yes, please.
My name is Philip and I'm calling from MTN. Someone has just sent you money and we will need you to enter your PIN number so that we can put the money in your account.
Hey,
oh, Dada, MTN will never ask you for your PIN. Never reveal your PIN to anyone under any circumstances. And if you are not sure, always check the number. MTN will only call you with a dedicated number, 0244 300,000. Stay safe, stay vigilant. MTN.
The party is back. Yes, the fun is back. GH Music's biggest weekend is back in full color. Brace yourself for 2 days of fireworks on the 6th and 7th of May at the Grand Arena. On the bill, Kitty, Black Sharif, Mr. Drew, Sinner Soul, Ohima Messi, Joe Metal, Aquaba, Kelvin Boy, Sefa, Jackie, Kamido, Samini, Kofi Kinata, Celestine Donko, and many more. Get your tickets for